This is the Fluid Jobs podcast, where motorsport professionals share their journeys and offer actionable advice for breaking into and advancing in the competitive world of motorsport. Today on the Fluid Jobs podcast, we're on the ground at Mclaren F1. We speak to Daniel Gallo, the head of talent and sustainability. We talk all things team culture, staff wellbeing, diversity and inclusion at their new Optimum Nutrition Performance Hub. It was a fantastic opportunity to speak to Daniel, someone who is at the top when it comes to recruitment for a leading Formula One team. This podcast is a must listen for candidates who want to work in the pinnacle of motorsport.
Hi Daniel, thank you ever so much for talking to us today at the new Optimum Nutrition Mclaren Performance Centre. Would you be able to briefly introduce yourself and your role at Mclaren F1, please?
Yes, certainly. Pleasure to have you here, first of all, and welcome to the launch event. So I'm Daniel Gallo. I'm the Chief People and Sustainability Officer for McLaren Racing. So my role covers on the people side, the entire workforce, hiring, retaining, and really how we get the very best performance out of our people, the culture that we develop as part of that. And then on sustainability, that's around our environmental credentials and the contribution that we make to the planet, as well as our societal agenda, which is around diversity, equity and inclusion, and broader welfare.
Okay, great. So we're going to cover a few of those topics now. If we could first talk about working at McLaren and the team culture, what would you say the attributes, what attributes are needed for working at McLaren and motorsport in general, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably there are some trends around characteristics that work within the pro sports industry, but I'm sure every team is different as well. So, look, here at McLaren, first of all, we like a diversity of people, right? So there isn't one mould that fits, but I think in terms of general characteristics, it's fast-paced, it's very demanding, right? We do ask a lot of our people. So people who, are resilient, that can handle operating under intense pressure, tight deadlines, is always something that's quite important. We are not a 9-to-5 organisation, and I doubt any pro sports teams are. Teamwork is fundamental. People who come with a natural mindset around collaboration. This is not an individual sport. This is a sport about 1,300 people, all collaborating in their individual disciplines and sometimes outside of their disciplines, that really translates into performance on track. And I think that's something we invest a lot of time and effort into here at McLaren. So that real kind of team mentality. The final bit I'd say is a winning mindset. You have to stay positive. Working in sports, in success is never linear. Success doesn't come overnight. So as well as being resilient, you've got to have the winner's mindset, not a loser's mindset. And that is around seeing even challenges, even failures as an opportunity to learn, which keeps it in the positive, not in the negative. You can't be a defeatist. You have to be an optimist. You can't be glass half empty. You've got to be glass half full.
Yeah. Well, fantastic. Thank you for that. You've done that's a great job of describing the team culture at McLaren, and that's fantastic. Moving slightly on now, could you give a brief overview of the main departments at McLaren F1 that people work in here?
Yeah, certainly. So we have the F1 team, which is where ultimately the car goes from concept through to being designed, produced, and then raced, right? So that is, a fairly extensive engineering function. So we are an engineering business with some of the brightest minds available that come up with these wonderful concepts as to how we create a fast car, and we're seeing the benefit of that at the minute. We then have a very large manufacturing and production workforce who are the people who then take those design concepts and actually build the car. They manufacture the car across our factories, and we have various sites that do that. And then we have the race team, which is obviously the bit that most people see because it's the bit that you see on TV, and that's all of the team that are in the garage, the mechanics, the trackside engineers, the pit crew, etc., who are at the sharp end then of actually racing the car. But we always make a point of being very clear on the team behind that, right? Because we genuinely are 1,300 people that put that car on the track. We then have some of your more traditional business functions. So we have a big commercial department that focus on our sponsors, our fans, our hospitality, the marketing, our social media channels. And then we have departments like my own, the people and sustainability department, IT, finance. So, we really are a very broad church of disciplines, and therefore lots of different types of capabilities and job opportunities that become available.
Okay, thank you. And obviously a proportion of the team is going to be on the move regularly. When these people are on the move so much, how would you prioritise staff wellbeing?
Yeah, when you are working in a sport that now has 24 races per season, people are away from home that have travel as part of their role quite extensively. That is the reality. All the other teams are facing the same challenges, and therefore it's down to us as to how we address that. And that is why producing facilities like the Optimum Nutrition Mclaren Performance Hub here back at base, and everybody, even if they travel, spend time back at base. Having a gym facility, the very best medical clinicians who operate both here, but then we also have the same for those trackside, means that we have a constant focus on the physical, the psychological and the nutritional well-being of our people. And so it's what I'd kind of call wraparound support, because we can't change the calendar. So we have to influence what we can influence, and that is around travel schedules, that's around hotels, that's around sleep schedules, and it's around investment in physical and mental well-being. And by trying to get all of those pieces right, we try and ensure that we avoid burnout and that we keep people in kind of peak physical and mental conditions so they can execute their jobs.
Fantastic. So, you've described how health and well-being is so important. And that brings us on to the fabulous new facility here. So could you please just tell us about that, please?
Yeah, certainly. So, this has been something that's been in development for some time now, but we've really been waiting to learn as much as we can from the investments we've made into the trackside team. And then to understand how we translate that back into the kind of the mothership, the factory here. And so at the end of last year, we landed what it was we needed it to be. We've worked with some of the best industry experts in Optimum Nutrition, Technogym, our own in-house medical clinicians, who've really helped us shape this as an inclusive, high-performance facility, so that it has something and it appeals to everybody irrespective of their background and their levels of experience and comfort being in a health and wellness facility. So it has a state-of-the-art gymnasium that we've really tailored and designed with support from Technogym. We then have, where we're sat today, the medical services, which will have, again, some industry-leading clinicians to support all of that aspect of our workforce as well. And then obviously our partnership with Optimum Nutrition is around helping people make informed decisions around what they put into their bodies, and also, becoming more educated around supplementation. So, as well as the facilities, this is really about education, right? And so using the experts and the relationships we have to, help people become more informed around how does having a healthy body, healthy mind translate into productivity, performance, durability. Back to my point around the demands, it's a high demand business. Working in F1 isn't easy and it's not for everyone. But for those who do come and work here, we want to make sure that we're providing the very best support so that we can get the best out of them, but they feel fully supported by us as their employer.
Okay, thank you very much. We're just going to move briefly on to more questions about diversity and inclusion, if that's okay. What specific initiatives does Mclaren F1 currently have in place to attract a diverse range of people to the team?
Yeah, diversity, equity and inclusion is strategically one of the most important things that we focus on when we're thinking about creating the right high performance culture. Having diversity of thought, background, experiences, socioeconomic background, universities that people have attended to, nationalities, all of the different characteristics, for us, creates a much richer work environment. If everybody was the same, thought the same, had the same backgrounds, when you are a high innovation organisation that is constantly looking to challenge the status quo to drive performance into the car, you have to have that diversity of opinion, thought and background, because otherwise you are just going to keep generating the same kind of outputs and the same kind of ideas. So, for us, again, our focus on this is very much centred around creating a high-performance environment and around our competitiveness. How we've invested in this is ensuring that we think about early years engagement. So how do we engage with school-aged children and educate them, particularly around STEM, which there is a shortage of globally and in the UK, and attraction into Formula One. But then also looking at people who are at the entry point of starting their careers, so apprenticeships and graduate programs. And being really creative about where we try and attract those people from. So we have good relationships with the more traditional STEM-based universities, some of the leading ones in the country. But we've also diversified our attraction strategy to make sure that we are spreading, kind of the education around what a career in Mclaren and within broader F1 can offer, so that we have a broader church of people that we are trying to invite to come and be part of this team. We've done things like the 60 Scholars Programme that we did with some of our partners, which was taking young female STEM individuals who are, kind of just starting their career, or they're still in their academic journey, and giving them mentoring, CV advice, exposure to very well-established senior female leaders within that space, to try and accelerate their confidence and their understanding around how they can have a really fruitful career within not just Formula One, any STEM-based organisation. And that's, again, been very well received. Last year we ran a returnship programme, which was looking at established STEM professionals who had taken time away from the workplace for whatever reason that may be, and how we gave them the confidence and the exposure to re-enter the workplace, because that for us is an untapped resource. And in a very competitive marketplace, that was something we wanted to explore. And actually 60% of the people who went through our returnship programme ended up in employment, either with us or with a partner that we were working with at the time. That's to name but a few, right? It's a very extensive programme, something we take very seriously, but we see the direct benefits from investing time and effort into it.
That's fabulous, thank you. And quite a broad brush question now. Looking ahead the next 5 to 10 years, what are the most crucial steps Formula One as a whole would need to make to improve diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, the bit I'm reassured about is, I think as a sport, and we do need to move as a sport on this, it's not just down to the individual teams. I feel very reassured that good progress is being made. We're involved in the right conversations, both with Formula One, but also with the FIA. So this is a topic that is getting serious attention. Number one, for momentum, that's the most important bit. It is how F1 operates in terms of it being, heavily populated with engineers, but also with manufacturing personnel. The bit we all have to work together on in a non-competitive manner is education around F1 as a destination career opportunity for people who are studying STEM, and using our collective brands and our kind of global platform to educate young people, to pursue STEM, because that's something that affects all of us, but then to provide those platforms and opportunities for them to get exposure and experience within Formula One, which is a super exciting place to work. But actually, if you don't follow F1, you may not consider it a legitimate career choice. So that education is important. So for me, as I look forward, I think we're moving in the right direction. What I continue to encourage and work with my counterparts in the other F1 teams is to, keep the stuff that needs to be competitive on the track. There's things that we can collaborate on that's in all of our interests, and be non-competitive away from the track. And for me, the continued diversification of our sport is something that we can continue to work even closer on to make sure that we create a sustainable and attractive sport for the future.
Awesome, thank you very much. So that brings us to the end of it. Thank you very much for your time, Daniel, and having us at this incredible new facility. If people would like to find out more, where could they go to?
Yeah, so earlier on this year, we launched a brand new career site which has a wealth of information on there. It has all of our opportunities, particularly around early careers where people can register their interest and we will then be proactive in contacting them. There's some really good content on there that they can learn more about McLaren, more about Formula One, hear from some of our employees. So as a first port of call, that's where I would definitely recommend people go and take a look.